Martin, congratulations on what, it's a real beauty, this car. How long have you had it?
I've had it since 2004, a classic bit of British motor racing history.
So it's an Austin Healey, they formed early 50s. It was sort of mid-50s, this.
So this car's a 56, but the Austin Healey 100 story goes back to 1953, when Donald Healey went to the Salt Flats and in the specials got the 24-hour record. And out of that came the production 100S car, which was a very famous race car that raced around the world. So we've basically done a replica of the 100S, but it's a 1956 chassis. The car was built up in Australia in the late 90s. I had a pretty extensive racing history there, and then I saw it in one of those books at the airport and decided I need to have that, so I slipped over and grabbed it, and it's been in the lower South Island ever since.
So it was always originally a model for racing?
So this record car they made in 53 was an amazing car. Over the 24 hours they did 143 miles an hour. Over 24 hours they had the world record for endurance racing, which was Donald Healey's claim to fame. He met Lord Austin at the London Motor Show, and out of that Austin decided to buy Healey, so they rebadged it the night before the show, and that's where the Austin Healey bit came from. And they did the production run of these replicas of the endurance car to sell to car dealers around the world, and two came to New Zealand. One came to Auckland that Ross Jensen had, and another black one came down to Invercargill here. And in the early pictures there's some very famous shots of the 100S sitting on the start line of the 1956 New Zealand Grand Prix, so that's sort of where my interest in Austin Healey racing came from.
Great knowledge of the whole history. Is fantastic to have such a passion. Just a few basics. What size engine?
It's 4-cylinder, 2660 cc's originally. This one's had a wee slight bore on it, so it's 2750 cc's, but 4-cylinder, motor out of the A90 for those Austin spotters out there.
Okay. So not the exact engine of the original car?
No, well actually it's all done, this is all done in period racing, so there's some pretty strict rules in Australia, the various compliance bits. So there's an extensive Austin Healey racing network around the world, so this complies, it's got all its international passes and everything, so it's got period modifications. The louvers in the bonnet and the leather strap, that's a 100M Austin Healey sort of thing, so it's period racing, so it goes probably a little faster than the original ones, but we've tried to keep it in the spirit of historic racing.
Everyone likes to know the speed around Teretonga. What would be your top speed?
I reckon we're probably doing about 120 miles an hour. The speedo is pretty wobbly, so it feels very fast. I'm running a Porsche today as well, which is air conditioned and nice and quiet and whatnot. This thing feels like you're going an awful lot faster than the Porsche.
It's an extreme. What is it like in handling compared with the Porsche?
Well, it's that classic British rear-wheel drive. You're using the accelerator. It's drifting quite a bit, and it's got drum brakes on the back still, so you don't want to rely on the braking. And tyres, effectively you run out of tyres on these old cars, and they're skinny, so hell of a lot of fun. We had a day in the wet yesterday, and that was quite exciting.
Speaking of tyres, how hard are they to come by? Because I know they're a scarce commodity in this age.
Yeah, they're pretty hard actually. We actually bring them in from the UK, so to get those period racing tyres, and in fact we're almost out of a set. This set's almost done, so I need to go internet shopping again and not tell my wife that I'm going to import some more tyres.
What about getting other parts? Do you have to make a few, or can you basically source them?
Well, it's actually very good. It's amazing our British heritage in New Zealand. There's a lot of British parts from our earlier days, and then Dennis Welsh in England, he's actually got an Austin Healey replica thing. So the likes of the head has come from Dennis Welsh, and so the parts are good. Sometimes you break them, so we are being pretty hard on the car. So there's some pretty clever engineered bits that you need to. If you drop, this is a race car, so when it's on the track, you're spanking it as hard as the thing will go. So it's inevitable we do break the odd thing.
You come across many racing on the circuits?
Not so much in the South Island. There's a couple of nice, in the vintage class, other Healeys that come out, but there's not too many racing Healeys in New Zealand. Australia has got a really big gaggle of racing Healeys. On my bucket list is to take this car back to Australia and go and have a play with some other Healeys.
So what's the passion with is it this model of car, or is it this era? What's your driving force? Pardon the pun.
Yeah, to be honest, A mate of mine had an Austin Healey at school, like a bug eye, so that was sort of where the Austin thing came. One of my first cars was an Austin A30, so I've done the Morris Minor, the Austin A30, the Standard Vanguard, all those old cars, school cars. So, and I think this to me, it epitomises that classic British shape. It's like that, it's that you know, timeless you know, British racing car, and it's a great era, and they're a bulletproof little car, and it's a fun car to campaign. Enormous number of people come up and say, gee, I had one of these when I was 20 or whatever, I wish I'd never sold it, and it creates a lot of interest as a car, so it's fun.
Do you feel safe?
I feel safer in the
Porsche. It feels
Porsche.
solid, doesn't it? Oh, do you?
Yeah,
it feels solid as a rock.
Open top car like this, and we are going fairly fast, so you're certainly aware that you're in an open top car, and in the spirit of our VCC racing, we're not being too outrageous. There's certainly no touching.
Have you had any near misses, or are you going to keep it on the track most years?
No, I've been pretty good in this one actually. Just in case my wife's watching. None, darling. No, it's all been good.
I just love the feel of it. Just tell us about just a little bit about the Porsche that you've got. Is this you got a complete set of racing cars, or you got a few others in the garage?
This is the set. I've got a few other old cars, but not with roll cages in them. So that's my Targa Porsche. So that's a 997 GT3 RS. So that's proper job, you know, factory road legal race car. Right. And that's done 7 Targas, that car. We've had a fair bit of success in that. A couple of years ago we won, so we're pretty proud. That was the first 2-wheel drive that had won in quite a few years. So that's a proper job, go fast machine. So you bolt yourself on that, and you've got a lot of horsepower, you got a fair bit of electronics, but man, if the corners are coming up quick, if something goes wrong, I did write it off one year, so I know what it's like to put a Porsche backwards through a fence at 170 kilometres an hour.
So you have quite a contrast of racing experience, isn't it, from this car to these? And you got about 15 minutes between races. Yeah,
actually that's the hardest thing. Actually, this car is relatively easy to drive because the line's reasonably obvious. I must confess the Porsche, jumping out of this into the Porsche, it's hard to get that race line right. And you're with the Clubmans, so there's some very fast. The Southland Sports Car Club, there's some very quick cars here, so you're definitely in the thick of it. And a couple of times I think oh, that's a Healey line, and I'm in a bit of German here, so I need to change my headspace.
Yeah, I'm going to make you choose. You had to give up. Your wife said you got to give up one of your cars. Which one would you keep of the two?
I'd keep the Healey.
Right. It's good to hear.